Recording, perfect. So it's the 28th of August 2020. It's 11:40 in the morning. I'm having a Teams video call with Jane Phillips, and we're just going to have a sort of question and answer session about the last few months and how you have learned and developed from it, and how you've led your team through these changes. So I've been looking through the apprenticeship standards and picking out the criteria which I think would apply to what you've been experiencing the last few months. So looking at operational strategy. So how you found that the last few months have impacted the college's strategy and their operational plans? How has that now had to change as a result of the pandemic?
The way in which the college had to operate is obviously brand new to them. They've moved very quickly in putting things like the COVID policies in place.
Yeah.
The fact that, I'm actually attending not every single meeting, but I have been attending the planning to go back to work meetings, which has been looking at how safely we can all return. Things like putting one-way systems into place, lifts. Apparently the newest one is no more than 4 people in the tower block lift. And they all have to be facing the corner. I'm not sure how that's going to work and who's going to police that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be completely different when we return. And obviously it's been completely different throughout this pandemic period. We've had to operate all out of our Teams meetings, our briefings online. So yeah, I mean, I think it's worked well, to be honest, and thank goodness for Teams and Zoom, because I think it would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking about the goals and the plan for your department before this all happened last year, how have they had to change, or have they changed at all? Or are you still aiming for the same strategy and goals?
Yeah, we're still aiming for the same strategy and goals. However, the team briefing I had yesterday indicated that our starts are down. Between August and December last year we had starts of 350. At the moment we've only got 84 for our department, which is actually significantly down from last year's. So we're having to change the way we're managing it, really. So what I've been doing is I've been having weekly briefings with the team, and each week on a Monday I give them reports. They look at their reports, decipher their information, then they present it on a weekly basis. So what that's actually doing is keeping them focused on the job at hand. So I was going to do that when we were actually working at college anyway. It just happened that I did about 3-4 briefing sessions, and then as we've moved to online, they've continued and they've got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so this has been a huge change for everyone. So how have you managed this change with your team?
We, as I say, we have weekly briefings. It's online. We obviously having staff meetings online. I've done appraisals online. Everything is done face to face, but through Teams, really. Also through the Teams chat. I organised get-togethers with the team on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 10:30, just an opportunity for people to get together and have that chat. It was just an opportunity. To be fair, it's not as about work. It's about that daily chat that they would have normally had in the office, because working in isolation is difficult for anybody. So it's trying to sort of understand what they're going through. And certainly in the beginning, it was hard for everybody, because you go through all these emotions, and you're not sure if you're the only one. But actually, by bringing people together, sometimes it was a couple of people, sometimes it was 10, sometimes it was nobody needed that, but it was just about that get together. So yeah, it's been it's been tough, but we've managed. The fact is, they know I'm there, and I'm for them to just sort of pick up the phone. If I don't answer it, I just send a quick message, say I'll ring them back or whatever.
Yeah, it's so hard at the moment because everything, all the rules and regulations are changing so quickly, and they just flip all the time. So it's hard for you to communicate that change when that change, you're not quite sure what's going on at the moment. So yeah, having that frequent contact's a really good, reassuring thing.
I think the thing on Thursday, because I meet with the senior management team on a Tuesday, I can then relay it quite quickly to them on a Thursday. Nikki Rowland then sends out an email to confirm what I've been saying to them. So there's that backup, and there's the support. So it has been working quite well. But I do think people will be happy to get back to the environment. You know, we've got new members of staff as well, and those new members of staff who've got absolutely no idea of the paperwork side of things, and I'm relying on the mentors to do that training with them. So you know, for me, that's been a sort of highlighted that probably needs to be looked at. So for instance, this week I've met up with 2 members of staff who are relatively new, and I've done some training with them. So moving forward, and I've said this to Vicky, what I'd like to do is actually, when we have new staff, for me to train them and then give them to a mentor. It's just too much work for a mentor to do all the training as well as getting on with their own work. Now that the impact there is, I can't do everything that I've got to do as well as all that. So, you know, we need a real look at the amount of work is involved in all of this. So
and then obviously with this change, there's a lot of risk involved. You personally don't have to do any risk assessments. Is that for is it Adam who does the risk assessments?
No, I've been doing risk assessments.
Oh, have you?
So I've got,
have you been managing risk?
Yeah, I've got several members of the team who are vulnerable. I've got 2 pregnant women. I've got 1 person who's got MS. I've got 1 person who's diabetic, and I'm going to do another one for a borderline next week. So that's just really about sitting down with them. There's a pro forma that you can fill in, so it gives you lots of guidance on the sort of questions you need to ask, and it's about looking at their illness and about how it could impact every day. So to be fair, because of the job at the moment is just office based, they are coming in a low risk. However, you know, the instructions are from senior management to wear face masks in communal areas, etc., or if they're not feeling safe. So again, at the briefings, I'm telling people to stick with the arrows, be sensible. You know, I don't think the politicians help. You know, stay at home, go to work. You know what Boris really needed to do. So I'll get this in the video. What Boris really needed to do was say, okay, you are all adults. You need to make that decision for yourself. If you don't feel safe, speak to your employer, and then they will do something. Unfortunately, it didn't happen like that. The government needed to make firm rules, so then employers would, you know, do the right thing. But I think we've gone into, oh my God, we need somebody else to instruct us. So I've now told the team, you're adults. If you're feeling unsafe, put your mask on, follow the arrows, and do the right thing. So so yes, I've been doing the risk assessments as well.
Brilliant. And then we sort of touched upon this earlier. So how has this impacted budgets and the finance side of thing and managing the finances? As you said, we haven't got that many apprentices coming on this year. So how has that affected your budget management?
Well, we had a target to take on, I can't remember off the top of my head, did all this through the appraisals, that we had to meet a certain amount of money. Because of COVID, that was reduced. And I'm thinking it's gone from 3.5 million down to 3 million. That's the sort of target we're talking about. However, you know, I've spoken to somebody this morning who has not got an awful lot of starts. And And I've actually said to her, if we haven't got starts, then we can't run a cohort. If we can't run a cohort, that is a job. Okay.
Yeah.
As harsh as it is, if we don't have the learners coming in, we don't have the classes to run, we're not going to need staff. I said it a little bit nicer than that, but it was very firm in, she's got a job to do. And actually, the instructions were right at the start of the summer, this is what she needs to do. Now, if she's got to this stage and now she's crumbling, what hasn't she done that I've asked her to do? So in fact, what we're doing is we're now meeting up with her on Tuesday, and I'm doing a bit more training with her. But again, that's probably down to the lack of training from the mentor. So now I have to take the responsibility away from mentors. It's not fair. It's not working. And of course, then they're all, they become all inconsistent as well. So I need to pull it back.
Yeah, definitely. So have you been set the target for next year or this year coming up for 2020?
Yeah, it's only sort of recently, and it's been put in the strategic plan. I think it was £3 million that it's been reduced to. But I don't think we're going to make it. And at the moment, we're just pushing the apprenticeship advisors. I don't think we can completely blame COVID. I think were a lot of companies that were still open. Unfortunately, what has happened is those companies thought that apprenticeships weren't happening. Now that's down to lack of communication. So we now need to look at the team, and this is what we talked about yesterday. We need to get out there and make a present. We need to be contacting dormant learners. We really need to be driving this forward and getting the starts done.
And that leads nicely on
as well. Sorry, working with commercial trainers as well, because we're all in this together. It's not about one individual person. If we are lacking somewhere, it's everybody's job.
For sure. Yeah, that leads nicely into my next question of sales and marketing. So how has this year impacted on how you typically market for the apprenticeships?
Well, we've still got we still have the open days as such, except they've all been done online. So what my team have been doing is doing videos with the marketing team, and then they've been having online streaming sessions and answering any questions. So that's still going ahead. So it's just in a different way. But the rest has really been contacting existing employers through CRM as well, where we get our applications. When you're interviewing somebody, you're finding out if they've got a job. So everything has been continuing as normal, really. However, it hasn't been the face-to-face, get out there and sell as we would have liked to.
And do you find that that's quite an effective way of doing it, the face-to-face?
Definitely. Definitely. I think half the time the team have been scared to do this. Part of the induction this year, I say part of it, the induction this year will be online. And very early on, we put the induction on the intranet, and I said to them, right, okay, make yourself familiar with this. I did some training with them so they could find it. But of course, that was probably around about February time. So giving them plenty of time, but of course, then they forget about it. We'll leave it till later. So it's now been a case of, right, okay. So probably about 5-6 weeks ago, I said to them, right, okay, you need to make yourself familiar with these online inductions. You need to be meeting with each other and practicing. Maybe one person does one part of the induction, the other person does it. You also need to make sure that you know how to actually book an appointment with your learner, and in fact, one of the AAs did sort of say to me, she got into a little bit of panic and said, I don't know how to do it. And I said, look, let's do it together. You said, I'll send you an email. I'll send you a Teams meeting on your personal email account. So she did that. She opened it on her smartphone. There was a little confusion, but she got there. And once she opened it up, she went, oh, that's really easy. And that's what I wanted them all to do, really, was practice on each other so they're confident on the day that they can actually do it. And then yesterday she came to me and said, right, Jane, do you mind if I send you an invite now? So she could see it from both points of view, from the employers, sorry, from the training provider, as well as the learning, the learner. So
yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, so that goes on to my next question. So digital business and new technology. So how has technology been used throughout this change?
Yeah, it's been used a massive amount. You know, Teams has been brilliant. Zoom, we've been involved in Zoom as well because we had Matrix certification not long ago. So Zoom, very similar to this. So yeah, it's been working on online really all the time.
Yeah. And do you think after this, if we go to some sort of back to normal, will you keep using these tools?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, you know, until you start using it, you just back off things like this, don't you? You know, because it's just the normal thing to do. When you get to past a certain age, and that's not you, Claire, past a certain age, you just think, oh, you know, oh, I'm too old for this. But actually, it's forcing everybody to keep up with the technology. And still now, I'm having to show the AAs on how to do things. And the way I'm doing that is by getting them to share their screens or me to share my screen. So definitely I'll be using it. I mean, moving forward, I don't see us going back into work full time ever again. However, we can't have two workstations. So, you know, it's getting that balance right. So yeah, I'll definitely still be using it though.
Yeah. And then because a lot of the interaction with your team has been through online and meetings like this, how have you managed to sort of motivate and empower your team through this change? Because it's quite a stressful and anxious time. So how have you been there to sort of motivate and support them?
Yeah. I ring them. I speak to them like this. I sort of try and give them some different strategies on how to deal with things. So yeah, I mean, there's been some anxieties as well. You know, I've just tried to sort of reassure them. There's one of the briefings that I did last week on returning to college, and I had a diagram and I shared it with them on where they're actually going to be sitting and what duty days they've got, and I color coded it so they can see that not at any one stage were they going to be close in 2 meters to somebody they were sharing that day with. So yeah, it's just sort of really being aware of what's going on. I've got a situation at the moment, and I know she's not coping very well. Things are just not being done, so I'm now on her case. She's rung me this morning. She's in tears, but she had there was a death in her family at the beginning of the year. Unfortunately, now that she's really, really busy and she's not coping with it, all this stuff is coming out as well. So I've had to give her a counselling session this morning and then sort of put into plan what we can do work-wise moving forward. With her personal life, suggested that she goes to see reads her counsellor and books an appointment. With regards to her work life, let's sit down and let's do some more training. So yeah, I try and sort of balance it out and try and sort of advise them, but also I am trying to sort of do a little bit more coaching with them rather than telling them, because it's all very easy me telling them what to do, but then they're not actually learning how to do it themselves. Jane will know, and that's another thing with the teens. They would generally ask questions, and I'm obviously working and I can see these coming up. It would be very easy for me just to answer the question, but it's very interesting to see what other answers are coming forward, and it's like, okay, yep, they've got the right answer and can move on. So that installs the confidence as well.
Well, that then goes to my next question. So how been managing yourself? How have you been sort of managing your well-being and your stress and your workload?
Okay. It's all right, to be fair. I would like to say that yes, I'm taking breaks, yes, I'm doing this, yes, I'm doing that, but I'm not. You know, I switch on quite early in the morning. There's some days that my husband will come home and he'll sort of say, "Are you coming down yet?" And it's like I've been here all day, and that's what I mean about the pressures of the job. And I put too much pressure on myself, so I know I'm not doing myself any favours. However, I did start Couch to 5K 7 weeks ago. So I'm doing that. So I'm getting up even earlier in the morning to go for a run at like 6 o'clock. But I'm coming back and I do feel, you know, that's helping my well-being as well. So, yeah.
Good. And then sort of coming on, but how do you prioritize your time at the moment? Are you sort of working late into the evenings? Do you have like do you keep your diary up to date, or do you have like a to-do list?
Because I'm sort of more office based, my calendar can look quite empty. I don't put everything in my calendar that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. In my head, I know on a Monday I should be running reports. On a Tuesday I'm studying. On a Wednesday I'm picking up emails and sorting out issues. So in my head I have a set routine. By the Friday afternoon, everything should be done. Ready to start again on Monday.
I can't leave it in my head. I have to write it down because I always forget.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me, I've got lists all over the place. And when I deal with my issues, they get screwed up and then they go in the bin. There's another one there. And actually, what's been really handy is when I'm running. I don't know. I put it on my review actually. I stopped listening to music. I'm now listening to podcasts. And one of them that I'm listening to is management. And the first one was about saying thank you to your staff. And, you know, sometimes it can come across patronising, whatever. But it's the different levels of how to say thank you. And that was the Thursday morning I did that run. And as soon as I got back, I wrote some notes. And when I did my briefing, I made sure that I said thank you. Thank you for your hard work. It's been really tough. It's going to get tougher. We've got 5 weeks to get all this done. There's going to be a lot of pressure. Let's help each other, support each other, and we can do this together. And I think they appreciated it. And I thought, actually, yeah, that's the way to do it. So, you know, having these podcasts, some people might think it's daft, but actually it's just reminding. You know, there was another one that I was listening to, and that was about performance review. That was yesterday morning, and it was like, yeah, okay, I shouldn't have put this one. It's not really what I need. Mine is about how to sort of motivate and communicate with my team, so I do not come across that I'm patronising them, and that I'm, you know, trying to get the best out of them, really. So that's my idea. I'm trying to get the best out of my team, in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely. And then so looking at collaborative working, so you're obviously in touch with your team quite a lot on a daily basis, but how have you been collaborating, if you have been able to, with other departments and areas in the college?
Yeah, only yesterday was that day before? No, it was the day before. Days just go so quick. I had a meeting with Michelle in marketing, and we talked about course leaflets, getting them all up to date, etc. So Teams meetings again, really good. Obviously meeting with Gemma, and my rest of my my group. As well, that's been handy. Who else have I had meetings with? Of course, on a Tuesday, senior management and head of faculties and things. So, but it's all been by Teams.
Yeah. So are you quite comfortable with going to someone if you have a question about something? You'll just give them an email or a ring on Teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I've spoken to. I would rather do this than give somebody a call or send them an email, because it's just easier. You can see the body language. You can, you know, have a little bit of a joke or whatever. Another person I've had meetings with is Anne Compton, and Lucas, Student Services. So Yeah, I've done a full range of meetings online. So yeah, I ain't got a problem with that. I think because I've been also at the college for a long time,
Yes.
I know these people, so it just comes second nature to me, really.
Brilliant. And then, so looking forward to the next few months, I know that it's difficult to sort of plan ahead at the moment to think, but what sort of are you going to take with you when everyone gets back to the workplace on their certain days? Are you still going to do regular meetings like this? Are you going to sort of get into the office with them and be there, do that face to face at a distance with them?
Yeah. What the plan is for the next couple of weeks, probably until half term, if things don't change. We've got AAs coming in on just the duty day. So at the moment, I've got 2 people coming in on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For 2 of those days, I've got 3 people coming in. My plan is that I'm going to stagger me going in so I can catch them all. So, for instance, next week, even though it's my study day on Tuesday, I need to catch up with Kate. That's her duty day. So I'm just swapping my study days around a bit, or doing half and half. So then I'm going to do half a day in the office on Tuesday and half a day in the office on Thursday. So I'm going to catch, I'm actually going to catch 5 apprenticeship advisors in that time. Definitely keeping up with the briefings. As I say, I started them before the lockdown, and they've been really useful. When I first started the briefings, it was about me telling them about what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And it was one person sort of said to me, "Oh, Jane, I don't really know what we're doing here." And I said, "Right, okay." And I thought about it, and I thought, actually, they've got a point. I'm telling them what they should be doing. They should actually be taking responsibility and telling me what they should be doing. So that basically what they were actually doing was sitting back and going, yeah, whatever. But actually by making them take responsibility, they were then more focused. So, this briefing lark has been a bit of a eye-opener, but I also think it's helped me to manage the team more effectively.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. So it's hard when you're doing it like this because you can't really see them, if they're even paying attention or anything. Because at the moment I'm doing teaching online, and that's really difficult at the moment because you can't see that everyone's focused or anything because you can't see them in person. So yeah, it has its pros and cons.
Yeah, it does. What I try to do is when I'm talking, I do sort of ask questions, so I fly them out. But most of the time when I'm doing my briefings, it's quite set out, and I try and sort of do it in a logical order as well. But it's things that we need to talk about. So yeah, I do think it really has worked. And as I say, I'm going to be continuing them. The reason they came about was because I think I mentioned to you before that before Christmas there were some issues that I wasn't happy in dealing with. So I decided to take up the offer of coaching. One of the ideas was, how often do I have one-to-ones, etc. So whereas I do appraisals, interim appraisals, one-to-ones, I was asked, was that enough? And to be fair, it wasn't enough. But time just gets on, and so it was like, okay, this is actually how we do it. Do you think you would benefit in that? I was like, actually, I think bringing everybody together, so everybody knows what their priorities and the caseloads are, would mean there's an understanding in the whole office rather than I'm just here, I'm doing my job, and how come so and so is not as busy as me? It's an appreciation of everybody's role.
Yeah, and just to have just that contact as well at the moment, everyone's sort of missing having the workplace banter and interaction with everyone, just having that face to face. I don't see people for a long time, and it's quite nice to have these meetings.
Yeah
Pick up morale.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. That's all the questions I had for that, so I'm just going to finish the recording.